I've always told myself nothing really scares me. I've pulled night shifts, walked through bad neighborhoods by myself, camped alone in places most people wouldn't sleep in without a group. But there's a difference between being unafraid and never having met the one thing that actually breaks that streak. I met mine on a Tuesday night, on a stretch of two-lane highway I'd already driven 100 times. I work as a home health aide, and that night I was covering a shift 2 hours outside the city because the regular night nurse had a family emergency. You take shifts like that because someone has to, and because the extra pay helps when the rent goes up every year and the paycheck doesn't. I left my patient's house a little after 1 a.m., already running on fumes myself, with a 2-hour drive home through farmland, pine trees, and almost nothing else. About 40 minutes in, my check engine light came on. A few minutes later, the car started losing power going uphill. I coasted onto the shoulder just past an old overpass, and the engine ticked twice and died completely. No houses, no gas station glow in either direction, just my hazards blinking into the dark and wind moving through dry roadside grass. My phone had 1 bar, enough to send a text, not enough to hold a call. I texted my sister. Car died on Route 9 near the old overpass. Call me when you're up. Then I set the phone in my lap, because there wasn't much else to do at 2 a.m. in a place like that. That's when I noticed him. Off to the right, near the concrete base of the overpass, a man was standing completely still facing my car. I remember thinking maybe he'd broken down too, that there was a car on the other side I just couldn't see from where I was. I flashed my high beams at him, a friendly, "I see you" kind of gesture. He didn't move. He didn't so much as shift his weight, though it was too dark to be sure of much beyond his outline. I looked down to check my phone, maybe 30 seconds, 40 at most. When I looked up again, he was closer. Not I watched him walk over closer. Closer the way a photograph is different from the one you looked at a minute ago. I hadn't seen a single step, and the distance between us had already cut in half. I locked the doors, hands shaking badly enough that I fumbled the switch twice. I tried 911 anyway, on the theory that an emergency call might squeeze through on a weaker signal than a normal one would. It rang once, dissolved into that broken robotic static that means no connection, and dropped. The bars on my screen never moved the whole time. I told myself fear plays tricks with distance in the dark, that I had to be imagining it. So I forced myself to keep my eyes on him without looking away again. For almost a full minute, nothing happened. He just stood there facing the windshield. Then slowly he tilted his head. Not confused, not curious, more like someone testing a joint to see if it still worked after a long time unused. Something about that small motion undid me more than anything before it had. I grabbed my phone and started recording through the windshield, some part of me deciding that if nothing else came out of that night, there'd at least be proof I hadn't invented it. The second the screen lit up, he started walking, fast, not running, but faster than a person should be able to close that kind of ground. And he moved like the terrain didn't register with him at all. No stumbling on the uneven shoulder, no adjusting his stride around the guardrail post between us. I dropped the phone. I threw the car into neutral out of some useless reflex, even though the engine had been dead for 20 minutes, and I just sat there with my foot jammed on a brake that meant nothing anymore, watching him close the distance until I could make out ordinary clothes. A jacket, jeans, nothing torn. Nothing visibly wrong with him, except that his arms never swung when he walked and his eyes never left my windshield. The entire time, he stopped less than 10 feet from the car, and then he simply stood there again, like whatever had driven him to close that gap had run out all at once, and he'd gone back to waiting. I don't know how long I sat frozen behind the wheel after that. Long enough that my legs went numb from how hard I'd pressed my knees together. Long enough to notice that the crickets, loud enough a minute earlier to hear over my ticking hazards, had gone completely silent the moment he started walking, and never started back up. Headlights finally came around the bend behind me, a truck slowing for my hazards. I have never been so relieved to see a stranger's high beams. I laid on my horn until the truck pulled onto the shoulder behind me. And when I finally made myself look back toward the overpass, he was gone, not walking away into the dark. Gone the way the patch of grass and shadow where he'd been, standing, looked like it had never held anything at all. The truck driver, an older man named Wade, hadn't seen anyone when he walked up to check on me. He helped push my car further onto the shoulder, waited with me until my sister could come get me, and mentioned, almost as an afterthought while we stood there in the cold, that a lot of local drivers avoided that overpass after dark, that it had a reputation he didn't especially want to get into while standing out in it. When my sister and I went back the next afternoon to deal with the car, we found something I still can't explain to anyone's satisfaction. On the inside of my back passenger window, at about the height a person's face would be if they were leaning down to look in, there was a single handprint pressed into the condensation, small enough to be a child's, or a woman's. The doors had been locked that entire night. Nobody had opened them, and nobody could have reached that window from outside. Without going through glass, that was still intact. I looked into that stretch of Route 9 afterward, half expecting to find nothing. Instead, I found a handful of old forum posts and comments from other drivers, describing something standing near that same overpass late at night, always still, always somehow closer the next time you looked. Nobody who posted ever said what happens if you don't leave in time. I'm not in a hurry to find out. I don't take that road after dark anymore, not for any amount of overtime.